Welcome back to episode 3 of the Untitled Podcast. You know what I'm saying? We got Ronnie back, and today we have our guest, Arvin Nazamian. We can just start it off with high school. You know what I'm saying? We just reconnected like always. So you want to talk to us about why you've been on the podcast, why you wanted to come on?
I think I really want to be on the podcast, so I saw it. I mean, obviously, I followed y'all for several years since
Long time.
the beginning. We've known each other since, I was in 3rd grade, you're in 4th grade. It's been a while. I've known you since middle school, and I see what y'all have done and whatnot. But in terms of me, how I want to impact being here, I feel like I can talk a lot about just, like, what I've done in my life. Obviously, I haven't done anything like spectacular by any means, but just, like, being able to say how I've impacted myself and impacted others and just bettering myself and seeing if I can inspire others to better themselves.
I like that. So what would you like to start off? Like, how did you inspire yourself first before you could inspire anybody else?
Well, to start, it's gonna sound a little insensitive, but like I was fat, I was overweight for plenty of years of my life. Y'all both saw it. Up until like my sophomore year of high school, I was just out of shape. I mean, I always like played sports. I played basketball. I did like taekwondo when I was younger and whatnot. But like, I was always just like overweight. I mean, I was just a big kid, and like I was like comfortable with that. And obviously, I got teased since like the beginning of time. Since like 1st grade, I've been getting teased by people calling me called slow, names, this and that, whatnot. And I think finally it was during COVID when I clicked. I was just like, listen, I have all this time, not really doing much schoolwork. I should just lock in and see what I can do with the free time I have, because I didn't want to take time for granted. It's something I take very seriously. I don't want to take time for granted because time is not guaranteed. So I just started working out outdoors, like in the blazing heat, like for 4 hours. I was at Eagle View, like elementary school right near our house, just training basketball, doing cardio, push-ups, suicides, this and that, just working. And I was seeing progress. And in the course of like a year, not even a year, in like the first 4 months of COVID, I had already lost like 40 pounds. So I'm like, wow, like I'm doing this. But like, obviously, when you start doing something and you like not even love it, when you start just like enjoying the process so much, you're gonna feel so unsatisfied. This hunger, like you're just getting hungrier to get better, do more and more. So I just never felt satisfied. So I just kept working, and I like literally like over the past, not past 2 years, but like in a 2-year span, I lost 72 pounds. Yeah, I know.
That's crazy.
I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it took a long way. It took a long time, a lot of work, a lot of discipline. I mean, no one believed I could do it. I mean, for as long as I can remember, everyone just called me the fat kid. It was just not really like much like my personality. No one cared about like what I brought to the table or like how I felt. It was just like, oh, you're fat? That's really all it is. Like, you're just an overweight kid. Like, you really don't have much to you. You might be a comedic relief, like as stereotypical as it can be, just how it was viewed. Now, obviously, I had to create a personality for myself. I was a comedic relief in a sense, but obviously deep down that wasn't all I knew I could provide. I know all my characteristics, I know all my morals on what I could be. Just I had to be able to like be presentable to people to have them appreciate that. And once I was presentable, such and such, I mean obviously like everyone's different body shapes. Once I was in a better shape, everyone started noticing me. Oh wow, like what'd you do? So I'm like, oh, now you want to like talk, now you want to talk to me. You don't want to tease me now. And like I started making accomplishments. Like when I was losing weight, I got more locked into school. Like junior year of high school, obviously it was online, but like I found a sense of motivation. I found this like fire lit inside of me. I can apply it to other things. I know I can lose weight. I've done it. I've done it. I'm gonna continue doing it. And now it's just like I can do more. Like I apply it to school, I apply it to like friendships, relationships, just how I can be a better person. And I had that instilled. I'm still bettering myself to this day. And like with school, I was doing really well in school. I played basketball. We'll get into that. But I played basketball in high school. Obviously, I had my trials and tribulations with such. But I didn't make my freshman high school basketball team. Made JV, but like wasn't appreciated. Then when I lost weight, I made varsity the next 2 years, and obviously that was a big feat in its own. And everyone would just talk to me, and I'm like, I really just wish I was appreciated before, because I've been the same person. I still stand by the fact that I have not changed as a person from when I was 206 pounds to 130 whatever pounds. I've been the same person. I have the same morals, same character. But yeah, that was a lot of ramble, but
Nah, that's not ramble. That was hard.
That was very interesting. I heard a lot of things that like kind of caught my eye. I think one thing I want to ask about though is that you kept going back to this like idea that being a fat kid labeled as that sort of made you invisible in a sense. Like you were this one thing, and that only that one thing. So like, what was the journey like trying to find those different traits and characteristics in yourself, and like outside of just making yourself presentable per se, right, in your eye, what was other things you had to do to kind of be like, this is who I am, and you have to respect me for who I am?
Well, to start off with what you said with invisible, I feel like invisible is like it's an okay word for it. I feel like I wasn't invisible. It was like I was not appreciated when I wanted to be appreciated, but I was looked at when I didn't want to be looked at. Like, it was like the worst timing, like wrong place, wrong time for like everything. It's just like, if like we're out to eat with friends, it's just like, oh, now you want to see, like, everyone's like, oh, what are you gonna get? You know, order the whole table, like eat everyone's food for them, and I'm just like, can you just like leave me alone? But obviously, as like the fat kid, I'll use the quotes because like obviously people are in different situations. But as like the bigger kid, you just had like this stigma like placed on you, and you couldn't really escape that, and you couldn't defend yourself because like what can you have? Like, I can believe in such things, I can have money, power, whatnot, but like the way kids are, the way we were young, when we were back then, we were younger, it doesn't matter what you have. They just look at like the outside and they're like, okay, you're fat, so you're worthless. You provide nothing, you're just fat. Like, we're gonna make fat jokes and just make fun of you, like the center of attention where we can just joke on, just kind of like be our punching bag. And it just like, it was sad. I mean, obviously it was sad, but like in terms of your question about like how I like changed myself and like what I had to see in myself, I just had to realize anyone can love me, anyone can hate me, but they can't change me. Everything that can be changed is within myself. Look at yourself in the mirror. No one else is looking in the mirror with you. You're looking at yourself in the mirror, eye to eye. You just have to understand that like you're fighting this battle yourself. You may have support systems, but no one's doing this work for you. No one's bettering yourself for you. No one's gonna hold your hand throughout the way. Obviously, support is appreciated, and like I'm one who like kind of like sometimes needs that little push. Like, someone's like, oh, you got it. Like any little compliment, like, oh, like you're looking better in the gym, or like, oh, you're getting slimmer. Like, I appreciate those things, but it's all me. It's all me. Like, obviously, me versus me is like, it's corny. Like, everyone needs an Instagram caption and whatnot. But it's true shit. It's true shit. I mean, like, I just had to focus on myself, put my head down, throw in some imaginary headphones and block out the noise. Talk as you wish. Keep talking as you want. You can keep talking down on me, but I'm just going to keep getting better while you guys keep talking, because that noise isn't really affecting me, because I have a goal. You guys don't have goals. You guys just have hobbies, and one of your hobbies is shitting on me, bullying me, but I see further, and I see the better in myself that you guys will see later, but you're not going to see it yet. You don't deserve to see this now. When I'm a lot better, you'll see it.
I think all your actions speak for yourself. Like, it's very clear that you put in a lot of work. One thing I wanted to ask is, besides like physically, like obviously you had to go to the gym to lose weight, but mentally, what did you change? Like, or like, because you had to look yourself in the mirror every day and be like, oh, okay, like something needs to change before a change happens. But like, what was that?
During the time of when I was like initially losing weight, I didn't understand this concept, but I understand it a lot more now. That with time, you just have to like let it do its thing. I'm not gonna get a washboard 6-pack of abs overnight. I just have to like keep it consistent. If you just anything in life, consistency. You keep doing things every day. Practice makes perfect. It's cheesy lines, but it's all real. It's real stuff. Like, I just had to realize, like, if I just keep going at it, I will see something. It's not like I'm gonna have no progress. Everyone progresses somehow every day, whether backwards or forwards. Someone can get better every day. Someone can get worse every day. But I just had to realize every day I'm going somewhere. If I want to step back, that's fine. I got 2 steps forward the next day. I just gotta keep going, because I have a vision. I had a vision. Obviously, like, I'm not in like that vision. Like, obviously, like, I'm not like jacked and like looking like C-bum and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I see a vision that I want to look better, I want to feel better, and I want to be better for everyone around me, for myself, and yeah.
So, I think one thing to keep in mind is, the big thing that I noticed with you, I mean, obviously I've known you for a long time, but the big thing that I noticed with you is that there was never really, like, whenever people gave you that recognition, like, or, oh, Arvin's doing this, Arvin's, losing weight, Arvin's, getting his goals, whatever, it never seemed to, maybe it phased you a little bit, like, maybe it helped you a little bit, but like you were saying, you had that self-motivation, that drive. So, I wanted to ask the sort of transition between you being, like, labeled as a fat kid to now being looked at as, like, whoa, Arvin did this thing, and now I can look at Arvin like with a certain level of respect. Like, how did you handle that transition? What were some things you thought about that were like, I have to be conscious of these things? Like, were there fake individuals that just like came around and they were like, okay, now I'm going to respect you this way? And how did you handle that?
That's a great question, actually. A lot of people just throughout high school, like, you made so many jokes. You commented on my Instagram page. You said things on my Snapchat, whatnot. Said all these mean things, and you come around and you're saying, oh, like, wow, I look so much better. I'm gonna appreciate it because I can't, like, take that away from you. Like, thank you for, like, complimenting me, but I still see you the same. Like, it's not gonna change at all. I know what you did. Like, I mean, I always believe in second chances. I always believe in giving people, like, other chances. But there's just a point, like, I know exactly what you did. You bullied me. Like, I know you bullied me. You can say that, and I'll be appreciative of your compliment, but it's not going to change the fact of how I view you. And there's things I have to view in myself, just, like, with this transition. Like, people can compliment me, but because of this unsatisfied hunger, like, this fire I, like, created for myself, I wasn't taking compliments, really. Like, you'd say it to me, but I'd be like, I thank you, but, like, I looked at myself and, like, do I really? Like, I didn't want to accept the compliments. I accepted them, but I didn't want to internally accept them because I just felt like there was more work that had to be done.
I feel like that was, like, related to just, like, the process, like, keep going always.
Yeah. I'd say just, like, I had to keep working. I just had to, like, keep bettering myself because I just, like, I was in a dark place when I initially, like, I weighed myself. I was like 206 pounds. I just got back from, like, Richmond basketball camp. You remember Richmond basketball camp? Fun time.
Yeah.
A lot of food, but we ate a lot of food. I came back, I weighed myself, and I'm like, what? Like, what's going on? Like I know I was big, but, like, I'd never seen myself go past 200. I'm like, this is, like, an issue. So I cried to my mom. I'm like, why am I like this? Like, initially, I was like, I didn't want to be bullied anymore. That was my main goal. I was thinking so, like, like not even outside the box at all. I was thinking just so, like, shallow. I was like, oh, I don't want to be bullied anymore. I don't want people to think me this way. I stopped realizing that after, it took me a while to stop realizing that, but I just had to do it for myself. Everyone viewed me a certain way, but if I don't love myself, no one's going to love me.
Absolutely.
So, like, instead of doing it for the bullies, like, I didn't want to get bullied, so I lost weight. Now it's more like I'm trying to do it for myself.
Yeah, I thought about it in, like, such a shallow way, and I realized, okay, they can think I've gotten better, and, like, they can, like, see the progress, but, like, they still view me the same way. Like, they still just think of me like my same personality traits are gonna think of me the same way. I'm like, okay, you can think that, but I'm just gonna keep doing me. And I just, like, really, really struggled being self-conscious. Like, when I was losing weight, when I, like, finally lost a lot of weight, I was still self-conscious. Like, even to this day, like, you know, the shirt pull. Everyone does, like, I'm surprised I haven't done it. Yeah, I'm crossing my arms, so I'm, like, locking myself in, so I don't have to do that. Like, I do the shirt pull all the time. I, like, tuck my shirt. There's so many mannerisms that I'm still self-conscious. Like, I'm in so much better shape, but I'm just self-conscious because, like, I'm scared of how people view me, even though it's, like, not anything that doesn't mean anything in life, how other people view you if you don't view yourself in a certain facet.
All right, so one question I had was, like, if you had never gotten bullied, right, but you were still the same weight, do you feel like you would still have went through the process for yourself, or did you feel like the bullying was kind of necessary for you to realize that you had to do it for yourself?
It definitely pushed it, but I don't think it was, like, the key motivator. Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously, I didn't want to be bullied. No one wants to be bullied. No one wants to get teased. But it was not making the freshman basketball team. I mean, it could have been a form of bullying because the freshman basketball coach said some very crude things about me. We can get into that later, but some very harsh things about me. And it could be a source of bullying. It could be a form of bullying. But, like, I just really, like, had to sit down and I'm like, wow, like, everyone thinks I'm like this. Like, that's crazy. Like, the bullying's crazy, but, like, how do I view myself? I've lost myself because I've let everyone else's words consume me. Everyone else's actions and everyone else's way of treating me just consume me. And I just, like, felt like I lost. Like, I felt so defeated. And I didn't think I could ever get back up. I thought I was going to be fat the rest of my life. I was so convinced. No one expected it. I ask you guys now, do you guys think I was going to lose weight?
Yes.
Well, damn. Well, damn.
That's because that's also
that's
also because we had a different outlook on who you were and who, like, we've also had I mean, that's why we're here, right? We've all had a lot of relatable journeys in which, I mean, I know for a fact I can attest I was a pretty fat kid. You know what I mean? Like, I had that same, like, you know, outlook on myself, and it took me a lot for me to realize that, you know, I what I had to do was for myself, and I had to find love and passion and drive for myself. And what I was doing was ultimately only of value to myself. No one else valued it as much as I did. Like a prime example of it is not only in the context of how you were saying earlier, was what I really liked was you said that you can apply this mindset to multiple aspects of life. We're doing it right now. Like 9 times out of 10, people that were in high school, people that are in college now, whatever the case may be, we have mutual friends, and some of them might be like, this is awful, this shit is ass, this podcast is horrible, why y'all doing this, whatever. Some might be like, this is amazing, this is whatever, and then some might be indifferent. Some might be like, I don't even know about it, right? But none of those three, I appreciate all of those three, because all of those three still encompass the people that this is going out to. Because I don't care, and I know everyone else on this podcast doesn't care about what anyone says about it. It's more so we're doing this for us and for what we want to spread, which is why I think which is leading up to my next question about kind of like those. You said earlier that there were a lot of people that came around and just kind of looked at you and were like, you're just this and you're only this thing, right? Did you have people that once you lost weight, once you felt good about yourself, all as you're working up and up and up, and you still have those people, are those same people treating you bad even though you lost weight? Like, have you ever experienced that form? Not maybe not the same form, like, oh, you're fat bullying, but a certain different type of bullying that came from an inner hatred that they had before when you were fat.
I wouldn't say inner hatred. Like, I don't think anyone like truly has it out for me as much as I want to believe. Like people I have this like victim mentality sometimes. I'm just like, oh, everyone's on my ass for this and that. I just think that when I was fat, I was sensitive, and sensitivity never went away. So people viewed me as like fat and sensitive, and they want to get on me because they get a reaction out of me and whatnot. And now I'm not fat, but I'm still sensitive. Like, I still wear my heart on my sleeve. I take everything very personally, very seriously. People still get on me because they still want a reaction. I'm still a source of entertainment to people. It sucks, but like, I can't change the way I am. I mean, I do my best to try to not like take it too much to heart and try to just like ignore it, but sometimes I simply just can't, because it's just my nature. I mean, I'm a person who's very emotionally intelligent. I know how I feel. I react and respond to how I feel. I don't neglect my feelings. I don't push them aside. I take them head on.
You're obviously very self-aware. Like, you definitely think about a lot of aspects of your life, especially your own I mean, just the fact that you notice your own like mannerisms and behaviors, like your own body language, that shows a lot. So for anybody out there, for example, who might be in the same spot, like they might not necessarily have like a victim mentality or something, but they were kind of in a similar boat. It might not even be like being overweight. It might just be like
self-conscious.
Yeah, it might even be as bad as like a drug addiction or something. Like,
yeah.
Would you give any advice for that? I mean, obviously, maybe not for that, but like.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. In terms of just like how people can just like view themselves, one thing I realized, my sister told me to do this, and I started doing it recently, but like I wish I did it longer. Journal. Write shit down.
Relate.
Like, write shit down, because if no one wants to hear what you're saying, that pen and paper can't say shit back to you. Yeah. It's not going to talk back. It can open and close, but it cannot talk back. Obviously, talking to a person is nice, and obviously I have my support systems. Shout out to my friends Mason, Nakash, Dafa. I'm gonna shout y'all out. I have to shout them out. Those are my support systems right there, and obviously my family. But it's like sometimes you don't have those people. You just have to write. I just write shit down how I feel, and just see one at a time how I can react and respond to those feelings, and how I can tackle them. How I can maybe feel this feeling more, get rid of this feeling, like.
You think it's more about getting rid of the feeling, or more like managing it so that it's more natural to not have it? Because if you try to just like force the feeling away, like eventually it's just gonna come back. Like you can dig some down in your brain, but yeah, that's gonna come out. Like,
the only way I feel that you can get rid of a feeling is embracing it first.
Absolutely.
You have to feel to know what it feels like. You can't, if you have anxiety, which I have terrible anxiety, it's like, you can't know what anxiety feels like if you're just like, oh, I'm just not gonna feel anxious today. You have to feel it, know what it feels like, go through it, battle, have an internal warfare with yourself, just to know what it feels like, and then you can figure out how to solve it and how to better yourself with it.
Because honestly, I think the biggest thing that is important about what you said is that and especially for people watching that may be relating to anxiety, depression, any sort of thing, is if you don't understand the problem of what you're facing, you're never going to actually be able to isolate a solution. If there is something that you're facing and you don't take the time to sit there and feel it and learn and understand the ins and outs of everything, whether it's whatever the case may be for you, if you don't understand that, then there will be not a point in time where you take a foot forward and you take a step forward and you're like, okay, I can move past it. Because if you never understand the conflict that you're going to be in, ultimately you'll just sit in it because you're always going to be looking at it like it's some kind of foreign thing. And going off of that, I think one big thing that we can talk about is just kind of like your journey from high school to college. What was that like for you, being someone that, had a lot of adversity in high school, as you said, and came into maybe a little bit of a different place with a different amount of people? We all know JMU is definitely different than Northern Virginia,
Very much so.
So what was that transition like for you? Like, walk me through it.
Just having to realize, like, I was always seeking approval from people in like middle, high school. I was always trying to see how others would view me, and their words and their affirmations, literally like fueling me. That's how I viewed it. But once I got to college, it's really every man for themselves. You may have people you trust and care about, but you're really the only person that can motivate yourself, only person that can lift you up. I don't want to go to 8 a.m. class, but hell, I got to do it. I want a degree, right? No one's going to tell me, oh, you got to get, no one's going to motivate you. No one's going to motivate you every day. That'd be an alternate reality, a perfect reality if everyone was always on your side. But everyone has themselves to worry about. They can't worry about you. I was so selfish in high school. I was always expecting people to like give me compliments and like, oh no, like you're not fat. Oh, like no, like there's more to you. Like I didn't get any of that because everyone was worried about themselves. And the problem was with me, I was a very caring person. I gave a lot of affirmations to other people. I always motivated people, and I was hoping for reciprocation. It's not how life works. You can be the person you are, but others aren't gonna react to how you are.
I think that's really important. Something that I think I thought about when you said that is people from different backgrounds. Like a lot of people that come from different backgrounds have different beliefs, have different motivations, have different things that drive them. So for one person, it may be something as little as, like one instance in their life. I mean, I don't want to say as little because it's obviously like big or little compared to whatever anyone's facing, but it can be so much as one instance in their life or periods, like continuous periods in someone's life. But ultimately, what I think people need to understand, and what I think a really good thing you pointed out, is that no matter what you face and no matter how much you relate to someone, at the end of the day, I can't sit in Ronnie's shoes and tell Ronnie I know exactly 100% what he's going through as someone with whatever he's going through in life. I can't sit here and tell you exactly in your shoes what you're going through, and I can't sit here and be like, I'm going to help you in this way. But what I can do is I can give you an outlet, or you can give me an outlet to which we can relate on certain things and then ultimately use those things to build upon our friendship like we have done, right? So going off of that, I think one important thing to talk about is, were there any people that you found either in college, in high school, things of that nature, that shared that same or similar journeys with you and you could kind of talk to? Or maybe not could talk to, but you noticed it?
I wouldn't really say gone through the same thing as me or like had similar like upbringings, because like I wouldn't say my story is unique, but it's unique compared to the people I've been with. Like obviously everyone has had like their triumphs and whatnot, but in college I found people that understood me. I'll say that, not necessarily that they understand what I've like come from, because they didn't know me, and like people in college didn't know me from high school. I only like my roommate Nakash, and like a few other people from my high school that I knew went to my college at JMU. But people I met, I got to know them, and I'm a very outgoing person, so I talk to whoever, and they might not appreciate how much I talk about or understand what I'm talking about, but people who get it really stuck with me because I can go to them, and they just understood like the true meaning of myself. Like everyone's like, oh, like he's too sensitive, oh, he's like, he talks too much. Some people actually understand that like I'm more than that. I'm a resourceful friend, I'm a caring friend, I'm someone who's always there, I'm always someone who can be counted on. And yeah, I wouldn't say exactly people who understood what I went through, but I have people who understand just like me beyond the surface, and I humbly appreciate that.
Do you feel like that would be, I mean, we all know how human nature is, so like, do you feel that would be the same if you went to college still being like the older person of yourself?
Definitely would have been a different outcome because people just get more judgmental over time. It's like people can get more mature, but everyone still judges. And I think in college, more people see you, talk to more people. So it means more people can have like intel on you, more people can judge you, can depict you, and tear you down. In high school, obviously people did it because like they saw you every day. You meet new people, and new people can just not like you. I mean, obviously, I wish I could say that it wouldn't affect me, but if I was still a bigger kid in college, I would absolutely hate going to college. I like wouldn't even want to leave my dorm because I just know at the society we live with. Sorry, I stuttered there, but in the society we live with, it's so pretentious and it's so like judging the book by its cover. Everyone's judged by the looks of them and not by the deeper meaning of them, because like you don't get a chance to talk to people sometimes, and you just like, oh, you see someone in the gym, oh, he's too small to be here. Like as sad as it is, but that's just how the world is. But I mean, I really, really appreciate the people I have, and luckily at JMU, it's not that bad. I feel like if I went to a different school, I don't know how the outcome would be if I were a bigger kid. But at JMU, I feel really welcomed, and everyone is just really caring. And I got to know a lot of people. I can tell you over 200 people I've spoken to. Like, I've networked. I've talked to plenty of people, and I've talked to at least 200 people probably, and they are good people. And I'm glad that I'm here and have got to meet those people.
All right, this might be a touchy question, right? But I want your input on this because I value what you've been through. So I guess you can have like a good outlook on this. So we all know like bullying is obviously like it can be bad, right? But do you think that there can ever be potentially some value that comes out of it?
So the word bullying in itself, no. If you want to switch it up and make it constructive criticism, it's a different thing. Because I have friends that are like blunt, but they're constructive. Like, they will tell me if I sound stupid. They'll tell me if I'm doing something incorrect. There's a difference between the intention of it. Bullying is the sole mannerism of people just wanting to attack you for their own enjoyment. Yeah, it's people who are insecure who bully because they don't like themselves, so they want to take it out on someone else, take out their anger because they can't take it out on people that they appreciate or people that like view them in a different way. So say like the top dog in like the football team, the varsity football team, whatever, like he has all these people that view him as like the top dog, but he may not like himself, so he goes and bullies the short little kid because he doesn't want to mess up his like persona, doesn't want to mess up his image. So bullying, I don't stand by bullying at all, but there's constructive criticism that I truly appreciate. My friends are very good at constructive criticism because they get on me, they want me to get better, so they tell me what I'm doing wrong so they can see an improvement in me. And I try my best to do the same.
So I want to go back to the like beginning of the podcast when we were talking about like the, you know, just the brand and kind of how you relate back to why you're here, right? I kind of wanted to ask you, I know you connected with the brand a little bit earlier, and obviously now like over time, you know, we're back in this like scenario. What parts of the brand sort of stood out to you and your own journey through bullying?
Something I really noticed with the brand is just being able to be yourself. Because when you're bullied and whatnot, and everyone's like getting on you, they say things about you, and those things kind of stick with you, and you start to believe that that's the person you are. Like, it's like plaguing. It's like literally consuming you, taking over yourself, and you don't really know how to view yourself. And others are like basically giving you an image, giving you a title, giving you your characteristics, your morals, your personality, just handing it to you. And I just feel that with the company, with the brand, just being able to be the person you are without limitations and without having a title to yourself, therefore untitled, no pun intended, but being untitled is something I really cherish because I can be an athlete, I can be a student, but I am just more. I'm so many things. I'm a cook. I like to cook a lot. I can be a musician. I listen to a lot of music. I don't know. I'm just so many different things. So being who I am and embracing who I am and not letting others title me is just really important to myself.
Be yourself to the core. Untitled, the blank slate.
Definitely. I think that was 100%. If we had to deliver our brand message in like less than 20 seconds, that was probably it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But another thing I think is really important to talk about is your the distinguishing you did between constructive criticism and bullying. I can definitely relate to that because I am a very blunt person, and that is also why me and Ronnie work together. Like, me and Ronnie are very blunt. We butt heads, like that happens. But I think the biggest thing that a lot of people, especially like people watching, that needs to be understood is like constructive criticism is so valuable because it allows you to build yourself so much more in terms of just actually being able to confide in a person and have that person give you a separate outlook on how your life is playing out, right? Because like if I have, for me, that person, like, thankfully is my business partner, right? Like for someone that is around the same age as me, I think something that is really important is the fact that we go back and forth no matter what domain of the business we're in. Like, right? Like Ronnie designs all of our designs that are like our scene, but ultimately the last say that either of us get is each other, right? Ronnie will come to me like, hey, these are all the like designs I have. Like, if you want to look at them and tell me what you think. And I'll give him the blunt answer. And I think the important part to understand is that boundary that you set with others is like, do you want a person that's going to be constructively criticizing you? And how do you set that boundary? I think that's really important to understand. And I kind of want to hear your take on that. Like, do you think you've set that boundary with certain people, or do you think that sort of comes with people?
It definitely comes with people because, like I said, you can't change how people view you. You can't change other people. But people in my life, luckily, understand the boundary themselves, and because they've grown up with me, I've known some of these people since like the 3rd grade. They've seen my come up, so they understand the difference, because like they can like tease fun at me, but it's okay now. But they can also be constructive, and I know it's also even better. I'd appreciate that more. But when they like make fun of me, my friends now, it's not as bad because they understand the come up. Not understand, but they've seen the come up, so their words don't really like affect me as much as opposed to like random people. And if random people try to give me constructive criticism, I'm like, I don't really know how I want to take that, because you don't really know me. You can only constructively criticize a person, in my opinion, that you know through and through. Because you can't tell someone how to better themselves if you don't know their full story. You can't tell me how to be better if you don't know what my worst is, what my best is. If you see my best, you know what to expect out of me. You have high stakes for me. You have a really high pedestal you set me forth. People have seen me at my worst. They know when I'm at rock bottom, and they know how to get me out of that hole, dig me out of that crevice, And I think it's just like, it's an innate thing that people have, and luckily the friends I have been able to understand and grow with me so they can better me.
Interesting. That's a very interesting take, because I've heard a lot of things about constructive criticism in terms of just having those one-time interactions. For me, it's a little different. Like, sometimes I value some constructive criticism from people that may have known me for even like a month or two, just because a prime example is my internship for the last month. I struggled with it was a small thing, but small thing to me at the time. I struggled with being late. I was late a lot. I was 1-2 minutes late, whatever the case may be. But ultimately, that led to a lot of professionalism parts, like a lot of professionalism being lost, like a lot of the professional sort of outlook on my business and how I handle my business. And in that internship, sort of, I had a bad look for myself. That was pretty clear, right? And one person that taught me that was Suzanne. Shout out Suzanne. I don't think she's ever going to watch this, but she's a director for the Gillum Center of Entrepreneurship. She's helped me so much in my journey with like Untitled Kingdom, Ronnie and I as well. Like, I'm eternally grateful to her. But oh God, she really looked at me and was like, look, you can't do this anymore. Like, you can't be late. Like, this cannot happen, because this will affect you in the real world. Like, when you get out of this internship, it will affect you no matter what. Like, people will stop paying you. People will stop talking to you. People will stop looking at you. And I think the difference between her being like, you're late and that's bad and I don't respect you, versus like, you're late and this is why it's going to affect you, and I'm telling you this now because I want you and I know that you're going to be successful. I want you to be successful. And this is why you need to fix this one thing. There's really different ways to deliver that. And I think it's really important to distinguish between those different ways. Because for me, I can get constructive criticism for someone who doesn't know the ins and outs of my life. Suzanne doesn't really know who I am. Like, she knows one part of me, which is the business, but she doesn't know anything about, like, my other aspirations, right? So, to me, it's kind of like constructive criticism can come within a person. It just all depends on how you deliver it from in the context of, like, that one-time interaction. Like, I may not have known Ronnie or, like, when he first started designing or whatever, but, like, let's say I DM'd him and I was like, hey, Ronnie, like, I think some designs are, like, some of these designs are really, really nice, and some of these designs I really, really like, but there's one thing I would change about them, and here's why, because they would help you in these ways. And I think that some people view that as, like, complimenting and helping versus, like, this is actually constructive criticism that you're, like, receiving, which is, I'm telling you what I don't like about something, but I'm also telling you the 9 reasons why that is important as to why my opinion is important and why I want you to use it to better yourself because I have faith in you. I think that that's really important. It gets papered over when it comes to constructive criticism. So a little bit, I know you already kind of, like, in 20 seconds, you'd already told me why you related to the brand, but I think one thing I want to ask you about is, like, you mentioned a lot of your friends and a lot of people that you sort of, like, kind of like are the backbone, right? Like, kind of help you through your day-to-day life. Do you think that they share sort of like a familial connection with you? Like, do you think that, like, these people are, like, the people that you would truly confide in? And if so, how did you sort of build that familial connection with those people?
A big thing that I believe in, and obviously, I'm glad that the last question you asked, we had differing opinions on, because, like, obviously we can't agree on all the same things. And this is also, I'm kind of gonna, like, piggyback off what I said before. I just think time, experience with someone and going through, like, the best and the worst times with people really make me see how much I can trust a person, because they can just understand me so much better if they've seen everything I've gone through, rather than me just saying it. You don't actually know. I mean, I can say it, but honestly, you might have a different perspective of it, and then you can tell me how I could have done something differently. Like, I don't even know, like, friends in college, like, I can tell them, yeah, I didn't make my freshman basketball team. They weren't there to see it, so they're like, oh, you just didn't make it because you weren't good. I'm like, no, I think I was great, but I wasn't appreciated by my coach because of how big I was, like, my size, and then he said so many harsh, crude things that really scarred me, and I still, like, sadly hold on to. It's just, I think time and experience with someone really makes me trust them, because they just know exactly they know where I've come from, where I'm at now, and where I can be.
When I first asked that question, honestly, I was not expecting that good of, like, a, like, division, like, dividing it into bullying and constructive criticism. Like, that was very good. But I want to go back to something. Like you said, you basically been always the same person, right? Like, even before you lost weight, after you lost weight, right? But I mean, realistically speaking, though, like, when you change, even, like, physiologically, like, something is bound to change up here too. Like, but I'm not talking about, like,
your personality.
Yeah, like, I'm not really talking about, like, maybe, like, not like, obviously you have to change your virtues. Like, you have to become a hardworking person, or a more hardworking person, like, all that type of stuff.
100%.
And, like, that all kind of, like, goes to, you know, when people like get big, or, like, get, you know, they start popping or whatever, like, sometimes that can develop into, like, an ego. Like, do you think how do you think like your ego or something like that?
Oh, absolutely not. I made sure that no matter how far I got and how much better I got, I'd stay humble, because I know cocky and egotistical people, and I hate those people. I mean, hate's strong, but I just hate people who like need to, like, flaunt such and such, like, what they're good at, what they're not good at. Let people see it in you, but at the end of the day, I see it in myself. I don't need to tell you and put other people down, because everyone's on their own different path. Someone can just be starting, someone's been going through whatever for years. Everyone's on their own different journey. So I think, like, physiologically, I never gained an ego, but I did gain more confidence in myself and doing things that I was not confident with, like wearing certain clothing, because, like, I used to, like, wear, like, clothes to make my rolls not show, honestly. But then I started wearing tighter clothing and started to embrace it a little more, because, like, okay, I'll fit into this. I'm going to make sure I fit into this shirt at some point. And also other things, just, like, the way I, like, carry myself. Just, like, trying to help others, because I see improvement in myself, so why not share the wealth?
Right.
I can share it to others. I can help other people get better in a constructive way, not in an egotistical way, but in a way that worked for me, that allowed me to stay humble.
I think people really misconstrue like ego as to be like a negative thing, but like it doesn't have to be like you're like asserting yourself over others or like putting others down. Like what you said was all like healthy self-confidence habits, right? But that is all a part of like a healthy ego.
Yeah,
Like, that's all part of a healthy ego.
I think one thing that I've learned, and this is from my mom, in terms of just ego in general, is I think there's a big sort of like misconception between self-confidence and ego.
Yeah.
Like I think people group those two together and they're like, oh, you're confident, you must be egotistical.
Yeah, you're egotistical, but you're not really like flaunting or being cocky. Like you said, you fit in your clothes better, so you like to do that. Like that's not necessarily an egotistical thing.
That's a personal thing, and that's a personal like sort of achievement that you have that you cherish, right? So I think one thing that I can relate to when you said that about just being sort of humble in the process, and I think we can both relate to this, is the brand, like this brand, we, for the past 4 months, we were just talking about it, we have grown immensely. Like the amount of love and appreciation and, you know, just people that have came and said the brand was fire or like talked about it, just learned about it, loved it, things like that. It's been insane for the past 4 months. And I think a big thing for me, and this is personally for me, and you can speak on this after, is I got a lot of one-on-one conversations in which people were asking me about certain things like this podcast and how they listened to it and how they, you know, like loved what we were doing and things like that. How they loved what we were talking about. And I took it always with like a very, like, I like to call it like bowing my head down, like, thank you very much, I appreciate it. Because there's a difference between saying, you know, I know, and I'm like, I know what we're doing and this is what I'm doing. Like, I think that's the big difference between cocky and self-confidence. It's like, I'm very humble and I say thank you, and I'm like very blessed to the fact that people actually take the time to compliment me, whether it's from my childhood or whether it's from people that are younger than me. Like, I had a person younger than me compliment me the other day, and he came up to me while I was playing basketball and he was like, hey, you know, I saw the podcast, was really fire, and I really loved it. And that in of itself, I was so appreciative for it because I cherish that. I cherish those little moments, and I appreciate them for what they are. And I think that people sort of cloud that appreciation and put it in a box with ego, and they're like, oh, you automatically, you know, sort of use this appreciation to think that you're good. Like, you're too good. Like, I don't think this, like, I would never say that any part of our brand is meant to be, like, portraying ourselves as like insanely good people. Like, we all have had our struggles, we all have had trials, we've all had things go on. Like, even in the brand journey for us, we had a year where we were just like, what the hell are we doing? Like, we were 17 years old. We've had things go on in the brand that's like, it's been hard, you know? Like, and I think people need to understand that having self-confidence in yourself comes with those consistent adversities that you face, and you realize, but that needs to be distinguished from ego, and not a lot of people do that.
Exactly, like differentiation. Sorry, I cut you off. You can get into it, but I was gonna say, like, just a comment. Differentiation is just so important just in life in general. There's just so many things that have been grouped together, but there are differences, and you can take them in the way you want them. You can have your own view on how one thing is different than the other, but as long as it's important to you, it's all that matters.
Now, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Well, my bad.
So, I think one of the biggest things, I mean, this is like a traditional question we ask every time.
You already know what's coming.
Yeah. But I want to ask you, what's the difference between motivation and discipline? And do they play the same role in your life? Do they play individual roles? How have they affected your sort of outlook on life and how you've continuously improved yourself day in and day out?
Well, motivation, there's a lot of influence that comes in motivation. People can alter your motivation. People can make you unmotivated. People can make you even more motivated. Discipline is innate. Discipline is something you're born with. You have it or you don't. I don't think you can really just like, I mean, obviously, yeah, I'm not gonna get like Darwin, like philosophical or like next. But I mean, like, obviously I'm like well versed and such like that, but like discipline is just something like you just have to unlock it. Like, if you have it, you have it. If you don't, you don't. But motivation, you can build motivation yourself. People can give you motivation. You can have motivation taken away from you. No one can take discipline away from you. Discipline is what you have inside, and you control how disciplined you are, how strict you want to be. Motivation can be so wishy-washy, and people can mess with your motivation. People can help your motivation, but discipline can't be touched. It's so it's intangible and it's untouchable.
It's like what they call it. They call it like internal locus of control, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, but so you said that people can sway your motivation and such, but I mean, you said motivation is you said discipline is intangible, but I think you could say the same thing about motivation. Like, the same way like your life circumstances or people can affect your motivation. I mean, I think that can also affect your discipline if you let it get to you. How do you balance those?
I mean, it's just the discipline you have in yourself builds off and allows your motivation to be fully flourished. If you have discipline, like, you can have discipline in anything. Discipline to look someone in the eye. Discipline to breathe correctly. Discipline in everything in general. If you have discipline to stay motivated, then that's how you can stay motivated. You just keep working on it. I mean, I just don't think personally, we can have different viewpoints on it, but I do think discipline is something that, like, can't be touched. Motivation can be messed with, because many can, like, ruin your motivation, just take everything out of you with words. I feel like discipline is something you just have in you, and you can embrace it and express it and use it or not.
I think the biggest thing that I took from that is, like, I feel like discipline and motivation are like a seesaw. Like,
exactly, they build off of each other almost. Like, one's up, the other one's gonna go up with it, down and such, and just keep moving.
Yeah, like, I think sometimes when the one thing that I think about when I ask this question is, you know, what my viewpoint is on it, and I think the biggest thing that I get from it is motivation is that sort of short-term, like, you know, one-time punch, like that. Like, I guess the, like, lack of analogies, I'll use like a boxing analogy. It's like a little jab, like, you know, like that's how you get into it. Like, you're always jabbing no matter what. But, like, sometimes, you know, you throw a little right hook here and there. And I think the discipline is that last bit, that finisher. Are you gonna, like, really put that person to the ground, or are you gonna, like, you know, are you gonna just hit those jabs and, like, constantly, you know, just, like, start just sparring somebody, right? Like, that's what that is a pretty shitty analogy, but, like, that was something that I just, like, thought about.
No, but actually, you can put that boxing terms. You're fighting against yourself.
Yeah.
Are you gonna knock yourself out and impress yourself, amaze yourself, or are you just gonna keep just throwing little punches, see little improvement, but are you gonna put yourself to the ground, get grounded, and fully embrace what you have in you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, you just took my analogy and made it 10 times better, fam.
Right, like, I can give an example from my personal life. Like, for motivation, like how he said, it's like a one-time punch type thing, but the discipline is what would even get you to start doing those punches. Like, you can't have really one without the both. But I remember, like, we used to go to 24, all of us.
Oh, yeah.
When I used to walk,
I still go there.
Hey,
24-hour fitness.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I used to be, like, walk into the gym, and it'd be, like, I think, like, a 25-ish minute walk from my house, right? And I'll just be listening to, like, Kobe Bryant, like, motivational videos. And I'm not gonna lie, like, having motivation every day, like that, because that motivated me every day. Like, just having that motivation to go in every day eventually built my discipline. So, like how he said, it's like a seesaw. Like, they really do go hand in hand, and it's really hard to do one without the other. Because if you have the discipline to go into the gym every day, but you're just bumming it, like, you're just going through the motions, like, you do kind of need that motivation to not just go through the motions, but really start hitting those punches.
I think it's important to also isolate the fact that discipline is, you know, fundamentally what's going to get you through those times, right? Like, those, like, whether it's gym, whether it's school, whether it's, you know, a hobby, whether it's a profession, you know, going to your job when you don't want to, trying to lift that extra rep, you know, whatever the case may be, ultimately you're not going to lift, or you're not going to go to your job, or you're not going to, you know, work on whatever you need to work on, do whatever you need to do, like, fight whenever you need to fight, if you don't have that, like, that discipline. Discipline is what keeps that going. And I think the best way I can put it, from once we, like, move past this topic, is motivation is the sort of, like, baby step into what, you know, like, like an introduction to, like, this is my world, this is what I want to make it. And then discipline is that kind of, like, are you going to make it past the 9 other people that stepped foot? And like, are you gonna really take the time to walk that trail all the way through? You know, I think that's really important to understand about both of those things. And the last thing, well, one of the last things, because I feel like we ask last things all the time, but one of the last things I want to ask is, if you had someone that maybe went through something similar as you, or maybe had something that related to you from this, podcast, what would you say to them if they were in the time that you were in that you would have wanted to say? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it's just basically just like, how would I mentor someone going through
exactly.
what I went through?
Exactly.
I think just like patience. I tell them to be patient, and you just cannot let anything get to you, whether it be compliments, whether it be like people like bashing down on you or saying you can't do it, anything, just don't hear it, don't listen to it, like just block it out, because you can only do it yourself. They're not doing it for you. They can compliment you, but that's cool, and I'll appreciate the compliment. Like I said earlier, I'll take the compliment, but I'm not satisfied. You just can't you have to take everything with a grain of salt until you just like see more improvement in yourself, see better and better, and then you can lighten up a little bit. But in the time of grind, in time of work, you just have to just kind of not sulk, like bathe in your own feelings, bathe in your own like work, and just let it sink in.
That obsession.
Yeah.
All right, so you said like how you said you come from a very individualistic point of view, like you had to do it for you, like by you, all of that, and this is like a very common theme. Like we've all been through that, right? But at what point do you feel like your individuality is gonna matter less than like what you actually bring to the people you love and support? Like you can do everything for yourself, but I mean at some point like you might hit something that you can't just do by yourself. Like how would you step? Because I feel like, especially in this culture, like I don't want to say like in capitalistic sense, but like it is very individualistic nowadays. Like everyone is kind of just fending for themselves. Like they just have to build everything practically by themselves for themselves. And it's not like back then where they had like a really connected support system where like you could go to this person, that person. Like you definitely can nowadays, but like you said, everybody's worried about their own butt, and like that's kind of how it's always been. But how would you go into that? Like at what point do you feel like you have to go to something a lot bigger than you?
Well, I find a really good differentiation between like my work and my work ethic with like in the gym and just like working out, and like that is where I see myself in an individualistic like reality where I'm like working for myself. But mental health, I can't do that shit on my own. I simply cannot. I shout out my 3 guys. They hear all my shit. Whether they want to hear it or not, they're going to hear it because I need to talk. And I have a therapist, no shame in it. I've had multiple therapists, no shame.
Absolutely no shame.
No shame at all.
No shame.
Because I just feel like, especially in college, you're around a lot of guys, right? Like guys and girls, obviously, but you're around a lot of guys who have this mentality, like men don't cry, macho, just like they don't talk about their feelings. Like, oh, stop being a pussy, stop being a bitch. Like, man the fuck up. Man the fuck up is the dumbest thing I've heard in my life.
Oh God.
Everyone has emotions, unless you're a robot, unless you're AI, unless you're Chat GPT, P5, whatever the hell you were talking about earlier. You have feelings and you have to talk about them. Everyone has insecurities. Hell, one of my friends, he literally said, I don't even have insecurities, I have outsecurities because I talk about all my shit. Whether you want to hear it or not, I need to talk. I have to get it out of me. I mean, it's kind of a diss, but I have to get it out of me because there's things that you can deal with yourself, but other things you just need support, like with your emotions. Like in terms of like your work ethic is all on your own, but your feelings, your emotions, whether it be anxiety, depression, fear, if you need help, you reach out for it. I have no shame, no hesitation to reach out for help. I do not care at all, whether it be for schoolwork, whether it be for like, just like, I don't even know, just like people, like, if they want to help me out, like, I'll accept it because I appreciate everyone who helps me out. But yeah, like, it's exactly what I said. You have to like do it yourself sometimes, but other times you can reach out for others and it's okay.
That's a great separation.
I think it's really important to understand, and I think we can end this off with the most perfect topic to talk about, which is this like idea around like this constant need for like masculinity equaling, no emotion, no drive, caveman mentality, like
Neanderthal.
like kind of like this like caveman persona of like I'm only going to be this person and I'm going to like make sure that I'm like always sort of like providing a shield for everyone and anyone and not caring about myself. I think it's really important to understand that for all the people like watching or maybe like just hearing that and like relating to it, every single person, like man, woman, they, them, whatever the case may be, your emotions matter no matter what, right? Like no matter what, it like matters, right? And I think it's really important to isolate the fact that a lot of people sort of, use, and I think it relates back to our like brand image as a whole, because a lot of people sort of continuously use these like categorizations of, I have to be like this, and this way, that like ultimately they conform to that one way and then box themselves in without realizing that all of their traits may be external to what box they put themselves in, right? Like I may be like around people that, or want to be in Greek life. I'm not a person that indulges in Greek life. Some people do, some people don't, but that's just not my cup of tea, right? Not to say that I like have any like thing towards against Greek life, but what I've seen, right, is that naturally there's sort of this like idea of masculinity that I don't really resonate with. So ultimately, I'm not going to let myself be put in that box, because if I put myself in that box, I'm naturally like making myself incapable of feeling the feelings that I know that I have to feel, because I know myself and I know my characteristics and capabilities. So I think it's really important to isolate that your feelings matter no matter what, and you shouldn't let certain labels or titles or categorizations or anything of that nature limit you from understanding that you're creative and that your drive, passion, feelings, emotions, everything about you is unique and valued. Those are the two things that everyone should leave our podcast with every single time you watch this podcast, is you are valued and you are unique no matter what, right? That's why we bring on multiple different people from multiple different backgrounds, no matter whatever the case may be, right? I think that's the one thing that I don't want to leave it, and I kind of want to get your thoughts. Like, this is actually, I think, the last thing. Final, I think, is, with this last sort of time that we have, what are some things that you've noticed with, like, I know going from Nova, a very diverse place, to JMU being 76% white, what are some things you noticed with, like, diversity and how that played a role in how you transitioned into the school?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, we grew up in a diverse place, but like I didn't really like take in the diversity. I mean, I knew I was diverse, and when I came here, I realized I'm really diverse. And like I was telling you earlier, like I want to like maybe start like a Persian club or an Iranian club at JMU. So even if you're not Iranian, you can be white, you can be black, you can be whatever you want to be. Join and just learn about other cultures. I feel like culture isn't really like I feel like harped on much at JMU. Obviously, like everyone wants to be like felt like in belonging and inclusive, and there is some diversity, but there isn't enough. And I feel like it's almost like a harbinger that like I feel like I like have like that sense of like maybe I should bring it upon like the school itself. Obviously, I don't know if I'm gonna make that big of an impact, but as long as I know as I've done something different, I'll feel good about myself doing so.
All right. If you had to say one thing to our audience from everything you said today, or everything you didn't even say today, what would you leave them with?
For my audience out there, be you. Just be yourself. Don't let others bring you down, because anyone can create a value for you. Anyone can create a number or like anything they can portray you as, but their number or their value or their opinion isn't going to weigh the same as yours. Your own is what matters more. Your value that you have in yourself is worth thousands, millions of whatever unit of number or whatever you want more than what others think of you. And you just have to kind of bet on yourself, instill in yourself, value yourself, and just keep being yourself. But
that wasn't rehearsed. No promo at all. But I think we can end it off there. That was great. Thank you for coming, bro. I really appreciate you.
No problem, guys. No problem.